After getting this watch in on the metal, I almost feel obligated to tell Seiko to watch its back. Seiko, a brand previously known for its affordability, has recently been skyrocketing its prices and seemingly ignoring what watch collectors have been begging for years on end. So, this $250 watch might just be the perfect, affordable, watch enthusiast-oriented Seiko Alpinist alternative. Let's see if this watch can eat Seiko's lunch. This watch comes packaged in a lovely yellow box, and it comes with a green leather strap with a bracelet tool. This also comes with a microfiber cloth and a warranty card with a pin link remover, even though this uses screws. And of course, it comes with the watch itself. This watch's diameter is 38.2 millimeters, 41.1 millimeters at the crown, 45 millimeters in lug to lug, 12.4 millimeters in thickness, 6.8 millimeters at the crown, and a bracelet that tapers from 20 millimeters to 17 millimeters. This watch is not in fact powered by the Seiko NH35 movement, rather it's powered by the Epson YN55 movement. And in the same way that Seiko distributes their NH35 movements, even though they make their own 435 movements, which are practically identical, Orient does the same thing with their YN lineup of movements. And in terms of functionality, the YN55 is very similar to the NH35, having 40 hours of power reserve, 3 Hz, hand winding, and hacking. This also has 100 meters of water resistance, making it more of a go to most places, do most things type watch. And also this has a double dome sapphire crystal, which is pretty nice to see at this price point, especially with that beautiful blue AR coating. Honestly, I'd say that specifications on this watch are nothing to write home about, but it's also not lacking in any way. Zezame did send in this watch and I don't have to send it back, but as always, they have no input on the content of this video, so my thoughts are completely my own. The beautiful green fume dial, the yellow indices, the fancy font, the beads of rice bracelet, the two-tone metals, and the double dome sapphire crystal all make this watch seem very vintage. And I know this is kind of a weird comparison. It kind of reminds me of an old Victorian couch. Comfortable yet elevated. And talking about comfortability, this watch is extremely comfortable, and I'd say it's quite versatile as it's easily dressed up and dressed down. I'll talk more about that in a bit. My favorite color is green, and I love two-tone. It's just my jam. It's kind of inexplicable, but on the surface, these design choices feel like they were catered to me. And if you don't like this color scheme, it also comes in silver and blue. If you're watching this video, you might just be a bit interested in purchasing this watch, so I'll leave some affiliate links in the description down below. There's one from Zezame's official website. There's also one on AliExpress. If you use the AliExpress link, you'd be helping out the channel and no extra cost to you. And honestly, just purchasing anything from that AliExpress link on AliExpress helps out the channel as well. Outside of the gold bezel, I'd have to say that the most eye-catching feature on this watch is most definitely this elegant green fume dial. Now, usually I'm not a big fan of matte dials, especially matte dials with painted indices, but I think that they executed this dial to such a high standard that I actually prefer it over the majority of my other watches' dials that have either a sunburst effect or a glossy dial with applied indices. So this beautiful green gradates to a black on the periphery of the watch, and the green looks very subtle in okay lighting conditions, and it almost looks black in some pretty poor lighting conditions, but when you go outside, you'll see how vibrant that green is, and it just adds another layer of engagement for you as the watch owner. Also, there are Arabic numerals at the 12, 3, and 9 with a date disc located at the 6 o'clock marker. As you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I am an avid date user, so I very much appreciate that this watch has that. And even though the date disc isn't directly color matched to the rest of the dial because the date disc isn't a fume green, it is black, and the periphery of the dial is close to black, so it doesn't stand out too much. However, the white text does kind of stand out when comparing it to the rest of the yellow Arabic numerals on the dial. But again, this is a very, very minor gripe because I've seen watches 10 times this price that don't even have color matched date wheels. Also, there is this really fancy font on the dial for the logo and the word automatic. I generally like the dial font because I think it kind of matches the vintage aesthetic, but I really don't like that second Z. It looks like a Y in my opinion, and I think they could have chosen a better font. Below the word automatic is a splash of red text that says 100/330 feet to denote the water resistance, and I think that adds a very much needed splash of color to this very elegant dial. Also, this watch uses gold cathedral hands that match the gold bezel of the watch and the yellow indices of the dial. So overall, very, very well done, Zezame. I really, really enjoy the dial. The little nuances I really appreciate, especially having that symmetrical date window and the beautiful fume green dial. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell to get notified on the latest videos. Also, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below because I am very diligent in responding to the majority of your comments. This watch comes with a beautiful beads of rice bracelet and a color-matched green leather strap. And if you take anything away from this video, you should know that I love beads of rice bracelets and I recommend that you pick up a beads of rice bracelet for your watch. They're just so elegant, they're comfortable, and they look really, really good. This particular beads of rice bracelet has polished center links and brushed outer links with a deployant clasp that is pressed. This part of the clasp is milled, which is nice to see. And the leather strap also has a little Z on it to show that they didn't just pick these parts off the shelf and that they actually put the time in to customize it to their watch. Also, this clasp has 3 points of micro adjust, which is really, really useful, especially as the summer months approach. And I just want to say thanks to Zezame for including a beads of rice bracelet and a leather strap in the box, because it means that you can easily dress up this watch or dress down this watch out of the box, which is great to see, especially at this price point. And I want to give huge kudos to Zezame for including a bracelet and leather strap that have quick release buttons, because that just makes the whole process of switching out straps so much easier. Nothing's perfect, so we have to talk about some of the downsides to this bracelet and leather strap. Now, the first thing I have to get out of the way is that the clasp is unfortunately pressed, and I'd really like to see a milled clasp at this $250 price point. And even though I mentioned that it's nice to see that there is some micro adjustment, I wish there was at least 5 points of micro adjustment, just because I think 3 is kind of limited. And I've actually seen some watches at this price point that have on-the-fly adjustment. It might be asking a little bit too much of this brand, but I really wish that there was 5 points, at least 5 points of micro adjustment with a milled clasp. Now, usually when you wear a leather strap, you'll sort of feel it conforming to your wrist and getting comfortable as the days go by. But honestly, I haven't experienced that with this leather strap. It feels really quite stiff, and I would imagine maybe over a few months of wearing it, it might feel a little bit more comfortable, but I'd much prefer it if the leather strap was at least a little bit more comfortable out of the box. I completely understand that leather isn't supposed to immediately mold to your wrist the moment you put it on, but this one just feels pretty stiff. The watch case is fully vertically brushed, making it look like almost, dare I say, a field watch. Also, the case back is screwed down, which is nice to see, and the case back is also closed. And even though when I was just starting off in this hobby, I much preferred an open case back because I'd like to see the mechanism at work, after handling multiple watches with pretty basic movements, I much prefer a closed case back that allows a watch to be thinner. Also, I really do appreciate that they have embossed the Z logo on the crown, just making this watch feel more like a complete package. If you want to get more life updates, priority responses to comments, and priority access to videos, I definitely recommend checking out the Time Ticker Team membership, because this video was also released early for Time Ticker Team members. There are some things I have to complain about, with the main one being the watch's finishing. I really wish that there was some englage or some interesting finishing on the sides of this case because I swear I've seen this case on one of my other Tandorio Pilots watches, and it just kind of cheapens the experience for me. I really, really wish that they had some chamfer, just a bit of chamfer. That's all I'm asking for. Another thing that sort of detracts from this elegance is the thickness. And I understand that a double dome sapphire crystal does add to its thickness, but I still think that this case could be just a tad slimmer. Also, this crown is quite big for the case of the watch, and I think even though for functionality purposes I prefer a larger crown, I think to fit the watch's vintage and dressy aesthetic, it would be a much better move to make this watch's crown just a bit smaller. The lume on this watch is quite mediocre. It's definitely not the worst I've seen, but it's also not the best. In terms of the wearing experience, it's been nothing short of great. This beautiful, comfortable beads of rice bracelet allows it to sit very, very well on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I think that this beads of rice bracelet and the leather strap would fit most people's wrists. Also, the blue AR coating allows this watch to be quite legible in brightly lit circumstances, and I just like colored AR coating. It just adds a little pizzazz to the watch wearing experience, and you know, it's the small things that make me happy. I mean, I'm a crazy watch enthusiast. What do you expect? Also, the subtlety of the green is really helpful when pairing it with outfits, because at the end of the day, you're wearing a watch and you're wearing clothing as well, so it's important to know how those two would pair. And I've never been turned off by this green color because I think it matches the majority of the clothing I have in my closet. So I'm about to say something really contentious, but I genuinely think that this Zezame looks better than the Seiko Alpinist. Now, I know I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for that in the comments, but there are a few reasons for that. With the first one being that the bezel on this watch is gold. And I think that Zezame made a really, really smart decision by doing that, because I think it ties the whole piece together, because the indices are yellow, the hands are gold, and so adding the gold on the bezel just adds a little cherry on the top of this watch's design. And the last thing I want to mention is the compass feature. Now, I know some people would definitely make use of the compass feature on the Alpinist, and that's something that this Zezame doesn't have. But personally, I know that I would never ever make use out of the compass feature, and I prefer it when there is one centered crown rather than two crowns on a watch with an inner bezel insert that has a compass on it. This watch just looks a lot more elegant, and I see myself wearing this way more than I ever would have worn a Seiko Alpinist. The Seiko TicTac is another popular Seiko model that a ton of people have been comparing the Zezame to, and while I can see the design similarities, I do think that there are enough design differences to allow me to say that this watch is most definitely not a clomage in any way, shape, or form. The first thing is that the Seiko TicTac comes on an oyster style bracelet, whereas this comes with a beads of rice bracelet, and it has crown guards, whereas this watch does not, and the crown is completely different on this watch, which I just think makes the TicTac a lot sportier, whereas this watch, as I've repeatedly mentioned, is a very versatile, dressy piece. Also, there is a 6 o'clock date window on the Zezame, whereas there is no 6 o'clock date window on the TicTac. I actually prefer the date window on the Zezame. And lastly, I am not aware of any TicTacs that have a gold bezel, and I prefer the gold bezel over a steel bezel because I just have a thing for two-tone. I really can't explain it. It looks vintage, it looks nice. I love two-tone. If you have been watching this video so far, you might have noticed that I've been wearing this awesome wrist check t-shirt, and you can check that out in the description down below, because you would be killing two birds with one stone. First of all, you would be the coolest person on the block because you have a wrist check t-shirt, and also now you don't have to ask others about what they're wearing. This t-shirt does it for you. And actually, I'd even say this kills three birds with one stone, because also you're supporting the channel. So time to answer the burning question: should you buy the watch? Honestly, For me, I think that this watch is a home run. Even though it's thicker than I wish it would have been, even though the lume is quite poor, even though there is no englage, overall, I think that the vintage aesthetic of the piece and especially the versatility of this timepiece makes it well worth it. I think this is the perfect answer to tons of people in my comment section saying, I don't need a dress watch, I barely go to any formal occasions, I'd rather have a gata watch because I'm more likely to go gardening than to a wedding. And I completely understand that. That's why I think that this watch is the perfect answer to that, because you can garden with this watch, but it also fits in a wedding environment because you could pop this on a leather strap and it would match. So I'm just a really big fan of the watch. I mean, I don't get paid to say this for Zezame. The only thing that they've compensated me with is just this watch, and I have some affiliate links in the description, but I think it's really important for me to say, especially for those who care to listen at the end of the video, that it's so much easier to make money through other means, to get a part-time job. I make videos because I really do enjoy sharing my thoughts about watches and cultivating a community of watch lovers who all seem to appreciate everyone's presence. I just appreciate that part. If I really like a particular aspect of a watch, I'm going to be quite enthusiastic about it, in the same way that I'd be enthusiastic in a negative way if there was something that I didn't like about a watch and I adamantly really did not like it.
I want to give a huge shout out to Dean Woods for being the first Time Ticker team member. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it, especially if you listen to that spiel. I hope that this watch channel patinas like your favorite watch. I will see you on another episode on the Time Ticker.